There is no coincidence, no luck, no misfortune. What you call chance is only the effect of causes you haven't noticed yet. Even the silence you keep becomes reality. Quantum physics calls it entanglement. Hermes Trismegistus called it the law of cause and effect. The Kybalion warned, chance is but a name for law not recognized. This video is not for everyone. It is an initiatory journey through the law of cause and effect, hidden knowledge that can open portals of understanding and forever change the way you see your own life. Today, you will learn how to use this law to shape your life instead of being shaped by it. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. Do you believe in chance? Think again. I'm not talking about that unexpected message that arrives right after you think of someone. I'm talking about the argument you had days ago that still echoes in the silence of your home. I'm talking about the anxiety that spread through your workplace the moment you walked in without you even noticing. What if I told you none of this is random, that even the invisible effects you cause in the people around you obey a universal law? Science has begun mapping this invisible field, what Hermes Trismegistus taught millennia ago. In the 1992nd, neuroscientist Giacomo Rizzolatti discovered mirror neurons. They show the brain isn't a closed system. When you see another's pain, your mind feels it as if it were your own. When you hear laughter, your body prepares to laugh. Your inner states reflect onto others, even when no word is spoken. And it isn't just neuroscience hinting at this. In 1950, Albert Einstein wrote, "A human being is part of the whole we call universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. What we call separation is a mask. Underneath it, we are always intertwined." The Kybalion had already declared, every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. That means even your silent anger is a cause. Your guarded fear, your contained joy, your careless word, none of it vanishes. Every vibration you emit becomes an effect, visible or invisible. Now understand, your thoughts do not remain trapped in your mind. They are waves crossing space, entangling with others, silently shaping collective destiny. What you believe is only your inner world is already echoing in the outer world. Recognizing that the universe is not random is profoundly liberating. This truth doesn't exist to create guilt, it exists to reveal power, the power to sow new causes and reap different effects. There's a mental turning key, pure Hermetic transmutation. To look at a person or situation and ask, what in me contributed to this? What am I meant to learn from this experience? That single inner movement turns chance into initiation, and every challenge into a portal for your evolution. If this resonates with your soul, like this video, and subscribe to the channel to plant the cause that will bring you effects of expanded consciousness. So let me ask you, how many things you called chance were actually invisible answers to what you had sown? If a single emotion of yours can cross a room and touch another person, what happens when millions of consciousnesses vibrate together? What effects are we creating without realizing it? Have you noticed how the energy of an entire room can change in seconds? One person walks in upset and everyone grows tense. Or someone starts laughing and the whole space lights up. That's not social magic, it's an invisible law operating in the background, linking hearts and minds to the same frequency. Neuroscientist Uri Hasson, Princeton, proved this by scanning brains during conversation. Speaker and listener displayed identical neural patterns, as if two minds became one. In groups, the effect is even stronger. Whole rooms enter neural synchrony when they share attention or emotion. We're not just communicating, we're entangling. And it goes further. Studies with couples show heartbeats and breathing can align. One heart literally keeps pace with the other. What we feel isn't purely private, it's shared. Erwin Schrödinger warned in My View of the World, 1961. Multiplicity is only apparent. In truth, there is only one being, and that being is indivisible. Carl Gustav Jung called it the collective unconscious, a shared field of symbols, emotions, and patterns flowing through us even when we're unaware. The environment and those around you don't just influence you, they mirror hidden aspects of your own mind. By nature, humans reflect the behavior of those they live with most. So ask yourself, are the places you frequent and the people beside you helping you create new causes for a different life? Or are they mirrors of an old consciousness that will keep generating the same effects you no longer want? Once again, science corroborates Hermes Trismegistus, recorded in the Kybalion. The wise man, instead of being tossed about by his environment and external influences, seeks to understand the law, and by applying it, becomes a cause instead of an effect. A simple gesture, a word, even a glance doesn't stop in you. It spreads like ripples through the group, triggering effects beyond your control. Now think, if a single emotional state can alter the field of a room, what happens when thousands of people vibrate fear, anger, or despair at once? And the reverse is also true. How many collective miracles could arise if minds and hearts chose to resonate in conscious harmony? You may have believed your emotions were private, but they are causes echoing at collective scale. And if that's true for people and groups, doesn't the same principle extend to the entire universe? Could atoms, planets, and stars also be obeying this cosmic synchrony? If it's striking to realize our emotions influence others, imagine expanding that logic to the cosmos. Does the whole universe obey the same law? Are stars, planets, and atoms connected by a web of invisible causes and effects? Modern physics points to yes. In 1982, physicist Alain Aspect ran landmark experiments on quantum entanglement. He showed two particles can remain linked across kilometers, responding instantly to one another. What happens to one causes immediate effects in the other, with no visible signal traveling between them. This result even challenged Einstein, who called it spooky action at a distance. Yet experiments confirmed it. Reality isn't built from isolated parts, but from an indivisible web where everything influences everything. Physics was revealing in mathematics what the ancients taught in symbols. In 1993, Washington, D.C., hosted one of the most cited studies on the Maharishi effect. For 8 weeks, about 4,000 practitioners of transcendental meditation gathered to positively influence the city's collective field. The outcome was striking. Reported crime rates dropped by up to 23% during the period, with analyses published in peer-reviewed venues. Similar research in other cities pointed in the same direction. When groups unite in elevated states of consciousness, the surrounding community experiences positive effects. Science begins to validate what Hermes Trismegistus taught. There is no true separation. Consciousnesses are entangled within a single universal mind. Which raises the inevitable question: if collective thoughts wield such power, what is the quality of the vibrations you're adding to the world? Are your emotions and intentions helping create causes for a new reality, or reinforcing the same effects you no longer wish to live? The Kybalion echoes this principle. The majority of people are carried along as pawns on the chessboard of life, moved here and there by external forces, the wills and desires of others, circumstances, environment, suggestion, and other external causes which move them about. If even subatomic particles obey cause and effect, it makes no sense to imagine our human lives stand outside the same law. What looked like chaos, under deeper sight, reveals order. Planetary motion, quantum vibration, the beating of your heart all obey the same principle of causality. Nothing is lost. Nothing happens without reason. Even what we call error is only an effect of invisible causes. And here is the revelation. If the entire universe is upheld by immutable laws, then so is your life. Chance doesn't exist. Coincidence doesn't exist. What you live today is part of a greater order that interlaces atoms, stars, and consciousness. If that's true, the inevitable question is, how do you become a conscious creator within this cosmic web of effects? If everything is cause and effect, the question is inevitable. Have you been living as a creator or as a consequence? How many times have you felt like a victim of circumstance, trapped in situations that seem to fall on you out of nowhere? But what if even that apparent bad luck is merely the effect of invisible causes you or the collective released into the universe? Neuroscience shows our choices aren't as free as we think. In the 1982nd, Benjamin Libet found the brain initiates a movement fractions of a second before conscious decision. Your unconscious mind is already sowing causes before you notice. In other words, your life is being guided by inner vibrations you do not yet master. Pay attention to this powerful passage from the Kybalion, a rarely understood Hermetic key. But the masters, instead, dominate their moods, characters, qualities, and powers, as well as the environment around them, and thus become causes instead of effects. They help play the game of life, instead of being played and moved here and there by the wills of others and by environment. They use the principle, instead of being its tools. This is one of Hermeticism's greatest secrets, and reveals Hermes Trismegistus's wisdom, the difference between being played by life and playing the game of life. Most people are dragged by moods, desires, and outside influences, not realizing they're living as effects. The master, by contrast, learns to observe inner states and refuse to be enslaved by them. Mastering mood means noticing when anger or fear arises and not reacting automatically, but transmuting that energy into clarity and purpose. Mastering character means perceiving inherited family and social patterns and choosing consciously which ones to continue feeding. Using the principle instead of being its tool means aligning with the law consciously, rather than being dragged by it on autopilot. This is where mental transmutation happens. You cease to be an effect of the world and become a creative cause of your reality. There is no escaping causality, but you can choose the level by which you'll be governed. Unconscious and automatic, or conscious and creative. Consider your emotions. A thought of fear does not remain trapped in your head, it spreads like a wave and attracts experiences in resonance. The same is true for gratitude, clarity, and courage. Every inner state is a seed generating future effects. You can ignore this and harvest at random, or you can learn to plant deliberately. That is the difference between living as an effect or as a cause, between being dragged by external influences or becoming the master of your reality. The law is relentless. You are always creating, even when you don't realize it. The only real choice is whether you will continue to create unconsciously or awaken to create consciously. Now think with me. If individual thoughts and emotions already shape your life, what happens when we learn to transmute these states? When we discover how to transform fear into trust, chaos into order, pain into wisdom, that is precisely where Hermeticism hides its most secret key, and that is what we will unveil now. If you've understood by now that nothing happens by chance, it's time for the most challenging revelation. Everything that happens outside is a reflection of what vibrates inside. Life is not a random stage, it is an uncompromising mirror. Every encounter, every synchronicity, every obstacle reflects your own inner frequency. This mirror does not lie. It faithfully returns the vibration you emit. That's why patterns repeat in your life, similar relationships, familiar struggles, opportunities that appear and vanish. The universe is not against you. It is reflecting the causes you project, consciously or not. Physicist David Bohm said, "Reality is an undivided wholeness in flowing movement, where each part reflects the whole." There are no truly isolated fragments, only reflections of one and the same order. Your mind, your emotions, and your actions are not separate from the reality you experience. What you see outside is not a cause, but an effect. The true point of creation is in the invisible, in what vibrates in your mind and heart. How to transform the reflection? The first key is conscious observation. Notice your thoughts before they become words, and your emotions before they become actions. The second key is mental transmutation, which can start with small daily practices. Replace a scarcity thought with one of gratitude. Trade automatic criticism for a deep breath. Respond with awareness instead of reacting by impulse. The third key is aligned action. Choose environments, people, and habits that sustain the new vibration you wish to cultivate. The Kybalion teaches, the masters, instead of being carried along by their environment, seek to control it. They rise to a higher plane and thus govern their own conditions. They obey the principles of the laws, and at the same time help to govern them, instead of being their blind instruments. The masters obey the law, but by understanding, they attain a position above the common, and govern circumstances instead of being governed by them. The passage tells us the master rises to the higher plane, the plane of mind, to govern the lower, the material. Instead of reacting to the environment, he creates a new cause at the mental level. For example, faced with financial difficulty, the ordinary person panics, feeds fear, and reinforces scarcity, becoming an effect of the environment. The initiate, however, observes the fear and chooses to sow a different cause on the mental plane. Affirmations of trust, visualizations of abundance, and actions aligned to that vibration. By transmuting the inner state, he changes the quality of the energy he emits and begins to influence the lower plane, attracting new opportunities and shifting material circumstances. This is the secret. Don't fight the effect, change the cause. The outer world is only the inevitable response of the inner world. Every time you reject something in your life, you are rejecting a part of yourself that needs transformation. Every time you give thanks, you make space for more of what you already recognize as yours. The law does not judge, it simply returns what you project. There are no coincidences. Every detail is a summons. Every person is a messenger. Every obstacle is an initiation. Life is a cosmic mirror placed before you, and what we call chance is really the opportunity to awaken to the power that has always been in your hands. But if life is a mirror, the question is, are you ready to face the reflection it shows you? You now see that what you called coincidence was never mere chance. Every silent thought, every hidden emotion, every small gesture becomes a wave that reverberates through other people, through groups, and even through the universe itself. The invisible you emit returns as the inevitable reflection in your life. What seemed disconnected reveals a greater order, where your experiences are signs, your encounters are messages, and your challenges are initiations. Life is not against you, it is returning, like a mirror, what you most need to recognize and transform. That's why I invite you not only to watch, but to co-create this journey. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. Share it with someone who needs to hear this, because contributing to collective expansion is part of your evolution too. If you wish to continue this exploration right now, click the card on screen about the law of cause and effect. This knowledge is the natural continuation of what we revealed today. And remember, if you want to apply this wisdom practically in your financial life, the ebook, The Key to Prosperity, Transform Your Financial Life with the Hermetic Laws, is available. It's a hidden key to sow conscious causes and harvest effects of abundance. We close another step of the journey. May every cause you launch from now on be a seed of transformation. Until our next initiatic encounter on the path of Hermetic wisdom.